Let me tell you about the year I learned you can never truly buy peace. Not when someone like Delilah Thornwick gets your name in her crosshairs. This isn't one of those fairy tale, revenge stories. Hell, if you're hoping for a clean victory or some kind of Hollywood ending, you might as well change the channel now. But if you want to hear what happens when you stand your ground, when you've got nothing left to lose but your own damn dignity, pull up a chair. It starts at 5 in the morning. Dead asleep in my tent, feeling halfway human for the first time in months. Boom. Suddenly there's light. 3 flashlights blasting into my face like I'm sitting under those interrogation lamps you see on TV. At first, I think I'm dreaming. But no, there's radio static and the crunch of boots on my gravel driveway. 3 cops standing over me, sizing me up like I'm some meth head squatter. Pack it up, now. My heart's hammering out of my chest. I can barely see through the spotlights. There's this smell, diesel fumes from their patrol cars, burning the inside of my nose. I try to explain, officers, this is my property. I own this land. I can hear how desperate I sound, but I mean it. And then, right behind them, she appears. Delilah Thornwick, Queen Bee of the Pine Ridge Estates, HOA. There she is, clutching her clipboard, smiling that poison-sweet smile of hers. She called the cops on me. For camping. On my own damn ranch. You ever had someone weaponize the police against you? Right where you're supposed to feel safe? If you have, you know that feeling, a kind of shame, mixed with outrage, mixed with the creeping doubt that maybe the world really is this insane. If you haven't, well, pray you never do. Now, Delilah didn't know it, but in my tackle box, underneath my coffee thermos and half a pack of worms, I had a stack of documents that would flip her world upside down. What would you do in that moment? Pack it up? Or fight back? I know you've got your own HOA nightmares. Drop your story if you want. Sometimes just saying it out loud is the first step. See, Delilah picked the wrong guy. My name's Jasper Calloway, 52. And 3 years ago, I thought I'd finally bought my way out of other people's drama. After cancer took my wife Margaret, slowly, cruelly. I sold my business, paid cash for this 40-acre patch of Colorado, and figured the world owed me a little quiet. $340,000, every penny hard-earned. Margaret, God love her, used to close her eyes during chemo and talk about a place just like this. Pine trees, a lake like a mirror, campfires, and kids' laughter. Those little details, with smoke, mountain air, the sound of water, kept us going through 18 months of hospital hell. It was supposed to be our reunion spot, our second chance. The property had it all. 12 acres of lake, a mountain stream that never quit, woods thick enough to get lost in if you wanted. When I handed the cashier's check to old Bill Hutchkins, the rancher who'd run this land for 60 years, his hand shook. Take care of her, he told me. She's been good to my family. He meant the land, of course. And I promised I would. Deed was clean. My lawyer went over every inch. No easements, no shared access, nothing but my name and a 50-foot buffer zone around that lake. Agricultural zoning, residential use. Hell, I could have built a McMansion if I'd wanted to. But all I wanted was quiet. Turns out, quiet's never just yours. Not if someone else wants it. About 2 months in, just as I was starting to let my guard down, came the first knock. I was on the porch, nursing a cup of coffee and the ache of missing Margaret, when I heard the heel clicks. Sharp, staccato, like a woodpecker on espresso. I looked up, and there she was, Delilah Thornwick, 48, HOA president of Pine Ridge Estates, a subdivision that squatted right up against my land. If you've ever met the type, immaculate hair, always with a clipboard, always driving a white Lexus like it's diplomatic plates, you know what I'm talking about. She glided up my steps, that official parking permit dangling from her mirror like a badge. Mr. Calloway, she said, all sugary sweet. I understand you're new here, but we have procedures. The lake has always been available for our residents' recreation. She slid this notice of violation across my porch rail, letterhead and everything. Now, according to Princess Delilah, My private lake was somehow community property. Bill, the previous owner, supposedly let the neighbors use it for decades, which, in her mind, created some kind of established easement. The air smelled like pine needles and morning sun, but all I could taste was fresh, boiling anger. "Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my cool, "I've got the deed. This is private property." Her smile went sharp. "We'll see about that. I know people." Then those heels clicked away, gunshots on wood. I don't scare easy, but I don't like being threatened on my own porch. Next day, I drove straight to the county recorder's office. Betty, the clerk there, must have seen every scam known to man, and she took one look at Delilah's paperwork and laughed out loud. "Honey," she said, pushing her glasses up, "if there was an easement, it'd be right here. This woman's selling you swamp land in Florida." I compared the real deed, rough paper, ink stains, Bill's honest signature, to Delilah's glossy violation notice. It looked like she'd spent more on printing than on facts. I called Tom Hutchins, Bill's son. "Did your dad ever give anyone permission for that lake?" I asked. He just snorted. "Twice in 60 years, he said. "And both times it was for search and rescue training, official business. That's it. Your HOA ladies got more fantasy going than a Comic-Con convention." But Delilah wasn't done. The following week, I got a letter from Pine Ridge Legal Services. Probably Delilah's cousin, with a law degree from Google. 30 days to restore community access, it said, or face legal consequences, including attorney fees and property liens. I read that garbage while the afternoon heat made pine sap pop on the porch. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about water rights. This was about a woman drunk on her own tiny kingdom, convinced she could steal my land by sheer force of will. Margaret always said, "Bullies only understand consequences." I figured it was time for Delilah to learn a new language. Week 3 of the Delilah Wars, and things escalated faster than a junkie spotting copper wire. Another cease and desist letter, fancier than the last. Pine Ridge Legal Services, it read, demanding I stop interfering with the established easement or else. The paper felt slick and threatening. I wondered how many times she'd pulled this stunt. Time for real detective work. Back to the courthouse, a limestone box that smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. I planted myself in the records room for 8 hours, digging up every scrap of paper tied to my land since disco was cool. Betty the clerk turned into my guardian angel, shuffling through file cabinets like a Vegas dealer. "Honey," she said at one point, "I've been doing this for 23 years. If there was an easement, it'd be right here." There wasn't. Zero. Nada. No agreements, no community anything. But I didn't take anyone's word for it. Called Tom again, sweating in my truck. "Tom, seriously, did your dad ever let neighbors swim here?" "Hell no," he said. "Dad was friendly, but not stupid. One kid drowns, and you lose the ranch." Only outsiders who touched that water were sheriff's deputies, official business. Armed with facts, I decided to test Delilah's so-called community tradition. That Friday evening, I packed up my camping gear and drove out to my own property for the first time since closing the deal. The sun turned the lake into a gold mirror. The breeze carried wild sage and pine resin, and I thought, maybe, just maybe, I'd finally found peace. Didn't last. I was hammering tent stakes into soft earth when 3 families rolled up in SUVs. Kayaks, coolers, kids stripping down to swimsuits before the parents even finished parking. "Folks," I called out, trying to sound reasonable, "this is private property." Soccer Mom Alpha gave me that look, the one reserved for store managers and soccer refs. Delilah said it was fine. "We've been coming here for years." "Years?" I asked, holding her gaze. Awkward silence. Then the husband mumbled, "Well, since last summer. Maybe the summer before." So Delilah's decades of tradition meant 2 summers of trespassing. Beautiful. I stayed polite but firm, explained property lines, asked them to leave. They packed up muttering about unfriendly newcomers and whatever happened to community spirit. 2 hours later, Delilah launched her social media nuclear option. The Pine Ridge Estates Facebook group exploded. Photos of heartbroken kids banned from their swimming hole. Comments piling up. What kind of monster denies children access to nature? You can imagine the rest. But while Delilah played victim, I played chess. Every comment, every lie, every manipulation, I documented it all. That's what she didn't know. Electricians, real ones, are obsessive about documentation. Miss one wire, someone dies. And then Monday morning, Tom Hutchkins called me with the bombshell. "Jasper," Tom said, his voice barely holding back a laugh. "I found Dad's old property journals, going back 30 years. You'll never guess who tried this same scam in 2019. Let me guess. Clipboard Princess?" "Bingo," he said. Dad wrote it all down. Stopped the HOA woman from bringing trespassers. Threatened to call the sheriff, and poof, she disappeared. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about the lake, or the kids, or community spirit. This was about a serial boundary pusher who'd been testing property owners for years, waiting for someone to fold. She probably saw me, a grieving widower new to town, and figured I'd be easy pickings. She figured wrong. By week 4, Delilah was at full throttle, and the games got dirtier. She filed a formal complaint with the county planning office, claiming I was operating an illegal commercial campground. Her evidence? A couple of photos of my tent, like I was running Coachella out of my own backyard. The language in the complaint was thick as molasses. Unpermitted transient accommodation facility. Unlawful commercial recreational enterprise. The inspection notice landed in my mailbox with a smell of fresh bureaucracy and doom. They scheduled a visit for Friday. Inspector Rodriguez showed up, an old-timer, the kind who's seen every trick in the book. He looked at my little camp setup and just started laughing. "Mr. Calloway, you charging admission here?" "Just me, my tent, and enough coffee to wake the dead," I told him, gesturing to my battered camp chair and little Coleman stove. He walked the property, boots crunching pine needles, tablet in hand. Sunlight catching dew on every spiderweb like a jewelry store display. After a thorough look, he shook his head and grinned. "You're fine. AG zoning allows owner camping. You could build yourself a mansion if you wanted. Besides, this is the 3rd complaint I've had from your HOA friend this year." I blinked. 3. He nodded. Noise violations, water contamination, now this camping mess. All from her. And she doesn't even live nearby. Some folks just love causing trouble. He left, rolling his eyes, and I locked down my property tighter than Fort Knox. Bought trail cameras, motion-activated, infrared, weatherproof. Figured if Delilah wanted to play spy games, we'd play for real. Sunday night, my phone buzzed, motion alerts from the lake. I expected a deer, maybe a bear. But there, live on my phone screen, was Delilah herself, hosting a midnight rave at my lake. 6 adults, 4 kids, floating on inflatable flamingos, drinking beer, laughing like they owned the place. The cameras caught everything. License plates, faces, even the brand of beer. The audio was crystal clear. Delilah, slurring a bit, saying, "He can't stop us if we come after dark." I grinned. Game on. Over the next week, the cameras documented a parade of trespassing. Tuesday, midnight swim, wine glasses in hand. Thursday, Delilah with bolt cutters, snipping my gate open like she was leading a commando raid. But I didn't confront them. I didn't call the cops, not yet. Instead, I made a highlight reel that would make a Hollywood editor jealous. Every trespass, every act of vandalism, time-stamped, GPS coordinated. Ready for a lawyer. Friday morning, Delilah shifted strategies again. Facebook exploded with a new persona. Now she was an environmental crusader, claiming my camping was destroying fragile ecosystems. She went after me for poisoning wildlife habitat. She even posted blurry pictures of my stove and a half-burned log. Rodriguez called that afternoon. "Brace yourself, Callaway. Environmental complaint just hit my desk. Let me guess, same source. You got it, I said. He sighed. She claims you're dumping sewage and chemicals into the water. That's 6 bogus reports she's filed this year against different property owners. She's running a harassment campaign. Weaponizing bureaucracy. But listen, filing false reports is a crime. Keep recording everything. She's digging her own grave. That night, the cameras caught her crew again. This time, popping champagne and trespassing like it was a wedding after-party. Delilah on camera bragging. He's about to learn his lesson. She was about to learn hers, too. Week 5. Delilah went nuclear. Called the police on me for camping on my own land. That's the scene I started with. 5 a.m., flashlights, cops, diesel fumes, my heart in my throat. Delilah, standing behind them, fake concerned. I had no idea who was camping here. Could be anyone. Drug dealers, sex offenders, who knows? The cops checked my deed, their attitudes shifting from tough to embarrassed. Ma'am, the lead officer said to her, filing false police reports is a misdemeanor. You could be looking at criminal charges. She paled, tried to backpedal, but the officers had her number now. Instead of blowing up, I stayed calm, asked for the incident report number, thanked the officers, offered them coffee if they needed it. Broke Delilah's brain. She expected a rage fit. I gave her professionalism. After they left, I sent certified letters to every HOA board member, demanding immediate cessation of trespass, laying out criminal penalties and dollar amounts for every future violation. Gave them 48 hours to comply. But Delilah was like a dog with a bone. She filed more environmental complaints, claiming I was destroying wetlands, contaminating water. She cycled through every identity, victim, crusader, whistleblower, faster than a street hustler swaps out 3-card Monte. Then, on Wednesday, I got the call I've been praying for. Rodriguez, my new guardian angel at the county, said his supervisor was opening a formal harassment investigation against Delilah. She's filed 7 complaints against 6 different owners, all dismissed. County attorneys are considering charges for abuse of government resources. The taste of justice in my morning coffee was almost sweet. That night, the cameras caught her red-handed. Delilah, wielding industrial wire cutters, destroyed entire sections of my fence to create public access. She coached 3 families through the hole. Walk right through like you own it. He can't stop everyone. If we keep this up, we'll get adverse possession. Her legal ignorance was breathtaking. She thought property law was a game of capture the flag. Friday morning, my neighbor Jim Morrison, no, not the dead rock star, just a mechanic, called me with the tip that blew everything open. Jasper, he said, my wife does bookkeeping for half the county. She saw something about your HOA queen that'll make US T-bricks. I almost dropped my mug. What kind of something? He dropped the bomb. She's been claiming ownership deductions for recreational easement on your property. 5 years running. Saved herself $4,000 a year, telling the IRS she owns part of your lake. It was like grabbing a live wire with wet hands. This wasn't harassment anymore. It was systematic fraud. Monday morning, I sat across from CPA Margaret, little office, stacks of tax documents, the smell of burnt coffee, so strong you could taste it. She slid papers across her desk. Mr. Callaway, your HOA friend isn't just harassing you. She's been robbing you blind. I couldn't breathe. Delilah had been claiming easement deductions on my property for 5 years, saving herself thousands while I paid full freight. Total theft, $16,000 of my money, funneled into her account by government sleight of hand. I blurted, "Is this even legal?" Margaret's glasses flashed as she scrolled through the county database. Only if she owns the rights, which she doesn't. And she's been doing it across multiple properties. Waterfront at Henderson Ranch, trail rights through Morrison's farm, fishing at Silver Creek, all fabricated, all generating illegal tax breaks. Her calculator clicked out the total, $73,000 stolen from taxpayers across 7 properties. Here's where it gets really rotten. Delilah's husband, Kevin, worked for the county assessor's office, the very department that processed these easement claims. He'd been rubber stamping every fraudulent application, approving deductions for Delilah and denying everyone else. Margaret showed me the emails, public records. Kevin to Delilah, Callaway easement approved. Delilah to Kevin, Henderson Trail access needs processing by Friday. 5 years of digital fingerprints. They were running a 2-person mafia from inside county government, stealing from every honest taxpayer, while I've been paying their bills like a world-class chump. Margaret leaned in, voice serious. This stopped being about your lake the second I found these. This is theft from every citizen in this county. You have evidence for federal racketeering, RICO violations. 10 to 20 years minimum. For the first time since Margaret died, my hands were steady. I wasn't just defending my land anymore. I was standing up for everyone they'd robbed. Walking back to my truck, mountain air cold in my lungs, I realized Delilah and Kevin had messed with the wrong guy. They thought they'd steal from a broken man. Instead, they'd awaken something else. I was an American taxpayer with the receipts. Game over. Tuesday morning, I walked into Sarah Blackwood's law office with a stack of evidence that would make a DA's eyes water. Sarah's reputation for crushing government corruption was legendary. The whole place smelled like old leather and expensive revenge. She spread my documents across her desk, eyes lighting up. Mr. Callaway, this isn't petty fraud. This is organized crime. RICO level. She laid out a plan like she was wiring a breaker box. Civil suit for damages, criminal referral to the DA, federal tax, fraud investigation. She was grinning now, calculating out loud. $96,000 in theft. Triple damages for willful fraud, attorney fees, punitive damages. We're looking at $400,000 minimum. But first, she wanted numbers, victims. My kitchen table turned into HQ for the Property Rights Defense Coalition. 4 of us at first. Tom Henderson, rancher. Maria Santos, schoolteacher. Bill Jackson, Army vet. Jenny Morrison, horse owner. Each one, their own Delilah horror story. Tom slammed his coffee down. She claimed an historic hiking easement through my cattle pasture. Been fighting her lawyers 2 years. $15,000 so far. Maria's smile was sweet, but her eyes weren't. She fabricated community fishing rights to my creek. I can't even let my own kids play back there. Bill, built like a bulldozer, had the scars to match. She claimed scenic easement over my property. Fought Taliban with more honor than this woman. Jenny. She tried to claim grazing rights for her HOA riders. Stole my horse's food with paperwork. Sarah's dream team grew. Accountants, surveyors, forensics experts. Meanwhile, I was still collecting evidence, documenting everything. Every night, Delilah's crew kept at it, trespassing, vandalizing, sneaking around. And then gold, Thursday night, Kevin, the husband, showed up with a crowbar, smashing my fence. The camera caught his voice clear as day. We'll make this so expensive he'll move out. Nothing says conspiracy like a confession on tape. Friday, we went public. Jessica Walsh, the county's top investigative reporter, heard our story and nearly salivated. Front page material, she said. HOA corruption, tax fraud, county officials in on it? This is my Super Bowl. She planned a 3-part expose. First tax fraud, then the harassment campaign, then the big picture. How HOAs can go rogue. Media attention worked wonders. Every time Delilah drove by, she saw new cameras, new no trespassing signs, fresh security gear. Her confidence evaporated. Sunday, we finalized our legal battle plan. Sarah's 47-page prosecution brief read like an obituary for Delilah's career. The forensic accountant found even more fraud, total documented theft, $127,000. With penalties and fees, we'd be seeking $650,000 in damages. But the money? That was almost secondary. This was about setting a precedent, showing that ordinary people could go nuclear on systematic corruption. Delilah? She panicked. Week 8, she filed an emergency restraining order against me, claiming I'd threatened her with deadly weapons. The affidavit read like a bad horror novel, me stalking her kids, waving assault rifles, making terroristic threats. It was strategic, filed Friday, for 4:47 p.m., so I couldn't respond till Monday. The judge bought it temporarily, gave her Army 72 hours of emergency access to my property. Saturday morning, she organized a community restoration celebration. 50 families invaded my lake. Bounce houses. DJ. Enough beer to drown a horse. But every second of that victory party was caught on my cameras, documenting their trespassing, environmental damage, 17 county ordinance violations. Sunday night, she staged her magnum opus. She positioned herself at my property line, coached her teenage daughter to look scared, then called 911, claiming I was stalking and threatening them. Problem was, I was 30 miles away at Home Depot buying fence posts. I had receipts, security footage, GPS, airtight alibi. She'd moved on from fraud to perjury, inventing federal crimes while the evidence stacked up. Monday, Sarah's office was electric with energy. We watched Delilah's stalking footage, clearly staged. She's handed us a federal case, Sarah grinned. False police reports, perjury, witness tampering. This is RICO now. Delilah still wasn't done. Tuesday, she ran a Facebook smear campaign, painted me as a dangerous extremist veteran with an arsenal. She got HOA board members to file false witness statements about violent threats at meetings I'd never attended. Every new lie, another felony waiting to hatch. Wednesday, Jessica Walsh called. Channel 7 wants your story for primetime tomorrow. Thursday's media blitz was biblical. Local officials steal $127,000 through systematic tax fraud. By lunch, every station wanted interviews. Delilah's support network crumbled like a sandcastle at high tide. Then she snapped, held a press conference, claiming media persecution, fake news, that I'd weaponized government against innocent families. Standing in front of the HOA's granite sign, clipboard clutched like holy scripture, she delivered the meltdown of the century. By Friday, federal agents were asking Delilah and Kevin about systematic violations of tax statutes and civil rights laws. The clipboard princess had finally gotten attention from people who didn't negotiate. Week 9, she went full kamikaze. Emergency court filings, conspiracy theories, claimed our coalition was a domestic terrorist cell plotting armed insurrection. Her attorney presented evidence that our meetings were actually paramilitary training. The Facebook crowd ate it up. But Maria, our teacher, live-streamed Delilah's community defense rally, capturing every moment she instructed her followers to make their lives hell. File complaints, overwhelm them with bureaucracy, get them audited, make them leave. That was it, federal conspiracy to deprive civil rights. 20-year sentence, minimum. Thursday, she recruited high schoolers as her surveillance army. Friday, my trail cameras caught a kid with bolt cutters trying to sabotage my equipment, claimed he was protecting community safety. Friday afternoon, karma delivered. At the farmer's market, Delilah ambushed County Commissioner Janet Rodriguez, screamed about protecting terrorists, and part of the conspiracy. 6 smartphones captured her full meltdown, wild accusations flying. Saturday evening, justice landed. Federal agents executed warrants, seized computers and records, arrested Kevin at his desk, racketeering, civil rights violations, conspiracy to defraud the government. Sunday morning, Jessica Walsh's documentary finale aired. HOA dictator's criminal empire exposed. Delilah's breakdown, the rally, her fraud network, all out there for the world. Tuesday, the county commissioners' meeting was standing room only. 400 people, 5 TV crews, half the county there to see what would happen. Delilah entered, flanked by her high-priced attorney, clipboard trembling. Tried one last speech. I'm the victim here. These property rights terrorists have weaponized the government. Sarah Blackwood stood up, briefcase packed with evidence, and shredded her story in front of everyone. Video of the trespassing, audio of the rally, documents showing $127,000 stolen. And the mic drop moment. Delilah's own voice, bragging about manipulating county departments. Silence. Commissioner Rodriguez delivered the verdict. Mrs. Thornwick, this commission unanimously refers your case for immediate prosecution under RICO statutes. Sheriff Martinez cuffed Delilah right there, her clipboard clattering to the floor. The crowd cheered like it was the Super Bowl. You have the right to remain silent, the sheriff said. I strongly recommend using it. Outside, cameras rolled. Delilah's little empire was gone. 6 months later, let me tell you, justice tasted sweeter than Margaret's last batch of homemade apple pie. Delilah pled guilty to 17 felony counts: racketeering, tax fraud, civil rights violations. The judge gave her 12 years, plus nearly $500,000 in restitution. Every dollar she stole, returned with interest that compounded like karma. Kevin got 8 years and a lifetime ban from government work. The Pine Ridge Estates HOA dissolved, assets distributed to homeowners who'd been unknowingly funding their own harassment. Property values jumped overnight once the clipboard tyranny vanished. People realized they could breathe, own land, and live their lives without someone lurking behind a signature and a smile. But for me, the change was bigger. Fighting for principle gave my pain a purpose that therapy never could. I started as a broken widower, hiding from the world on 40 acres of borrowed peace. I came out the other side as a man Margaret would have recognized, standing tall, not backing down, finding family in the faces of folks who'd fought beside me. Now every morning, I wake up to laughter echoing off the lake where Delilah used to plot federal crimes. The old place became the Margaret Calloway Memorial Nature Education Center. My grief became something new, real environmental education for real kids, not some HOA propaganda. Tuesdays to Thursdays, I host field trips. Pine-scented air carries excited voices, kids finding salamanders, learning about bird calls, discovering that property rights and conservation can actually go hand in hand. Last week, 7-year-old Marcus Johnson caught his first fish right where Delilah once threw her midnight parties. The poetry of that didn't escape me. Our scholarship fund, built from lawsuit settlements, now sends 6 kids a year to conservation camp. Emma Rodriguez, the commissioner's granddaughter, won the state science fair. Her project on lake pollution and why private stewardship matters. The next generation, learning the lessons their elders ignored. So here's your takeaway. The part worth every headache and legal bill. Document everything. Build a coalition. Don't let bureaucrats bully you off your rights. Alone, you get steamrolled. Together, you can topple corruption quicker than a federal prosecutor can say RICO. Our coalition grew, 67 properties defended, 12 officials behind bars. County government reformed from top to bottom. Every easement claim now needs independent verification. Tax assessments get audited every year. The Thornwick case is literally taught in the ethics seminar. How to Burn Your Own Life Down Through Suburban Fascism 101. Commissioner Rodriguez set up a real citizen oversight board with teeth, subpoenas, investigations, the power to call out crookedness before it spreads. No more good old boy network. Now, every complaint gets daylight. And Jessica Walsh's documentary? Nominated for a Pulitzer, picked up nationwide. They called it clipboard tyranny. And yeah, that made us all laugh. But the sweetest victory? That comes every sunset, when I sit by the water, reflecting mountains, sky, and the knowledge that evil only wins if good people stay silent. Margaret's dream of a big, peaceful family reunion finally came true. Just turned out my family was a whole county of stubborn, ordinary folks who'd had enough. The new neighbors in Delilah's old house? Nicest people you'll ever meet. They wave, keep to themselves, and have never once brandished a clipboard at me. No drama. No schemes. No more looking over my shoulder. Margaret's anniversary doesn't tear me up the way it used to. I see her in every ripple on the lake, every thank you letter pinned to my wall. Standing up to one bully, protected people I'll never even meet. That's how you fight the small wars that matter. Drop your HOA horror story in the comments. Seriously, let's build an army and help each other push back on the little tyrants wherever they crop up. Document everything. Find your people. And never, ever let them scare you off what's yours. The lake still reflects heaven, but now it also reflects justice served ice cold, and community healing served with warmth that'd make Margaret proud.